So I'm going to record this and I'll send you guys the recording as well afterwards. That way, if it's like, wait, what was he saying here? But the idea, I just wanted to cover like one topic. I've got some information I'm going to blow through here real quick, and then we can kind of discuss it. Hopefully, it'll give you some new ideas and we'll see where it leads. The topic that can you guys all see that? Let's see. There we go. All right, can you guys see the PowerPoint?
Yes.
All right, perfect. Thank you. So the topic, I can't remember if it was Whitney or Annie mentioned, I just started with them. I was like, hey, what do you want to talk about? And one of them was like, client cancellation. So I was like, all right, that's a perfect topic to dive into first, because as much as I wish we didn't have to, we all have to deal with this. And so when I think about client cancellations and trying to push back on client cancellations, trying to overcome client cancellations, there's really like a 4C framework that I use or that I think about. And so it's like, all right, what's the process that I want to do for cancellations? And the first one is contact. And so I think it's extremely important. I've seen this happen and I've done this as well. A client will send in like a text message to cancel. They'll send in an email to cancel. And I'm a huge believer that anytime that comes in, you want to call. You want to get them on the phone. You want to talk in person. What you don't want to do is, if at all humanly possible, respond to the text or email, because things get lost in they get, you can't understand the tone, the context. Maybe there's something. I've had situations where people are like super embarrassed. Maybe they don't want to say like, "Hey, I'm going through a divorce," or something like super negative. They might not want to put that in writing, but if you're talking to them, they're more than happy to, maybe not more than happy to, but they will talk about it. And so, in my experience, this conversation is so much more effective to have over the phone or in person. And so, I would say, if you call and they don't answer, which is super common today, I would just say, hey, Kelly, I got your text or I got your email. Just give me a call back so I can get you taken care of. I think that's going to be a lot better than trying to leave a long voicemail and let them know what you're doing. People don't like, if you look at psychology, people don't like open loops. So they're curious. They want to know, they need to be able to understand that things are finalized. And so if I explain everything that's going to happen over the phone, they're less likely to call you back. So that's why my voicemails are intentionally extremely vague. Hey, Whitney, just give me a call back so I can get you taken care of. And that's it. And that's all I say. So that is kind of my step one, is I want to get in contact in person or over the phone. After that, it's all about just carrying someone. Show that you care, acknowledge what they may be going through. I had a situation, I think back when I was putting this together, I had a situation years ago where another business called me, and it was a business to business partnership. And this person called me, and it just so happened to be it was the morning that my dog died. And so I'm a big dog person, and it was one of the few things that I'm like, I could care less about work today. I was devastated about my dog dying. And this person like was blowing up my phone over something that was urgent to them, but not me. And so, still to this day, I'm not really a fan of this individual. And it was something that, again, it was just because like what was going on in my life was not important whatsoever. And it wasn't a life or death emergency. It could have waited, but it was all about them. So I just say, before you jump right into, you need to stick with it, forget, who cares that your mom's dying? Who cares what you have going on? You need to be here. I would always say, pump the brakes first before we worry about the membership. Just ask, like, hey, what's going on? Like, we want to talk to them and just get to know them as a human. And again, if you prioritize the relationship with the individual and actually listen to them, I think we'll get a lot further. So I always say, like I said, before you worry about saving the membership, like let's focus on the person and the individual first. Now, once we get past that, then it's time to get down to business. And I think the third C is all about conviction. I've told my team a lot of stories as far as what motivates me, why I want to be in this industry. And I will say that, you know, people exercising, in particular strength training, like that's the hill that I am willing to die on. I don't care about many things in life, but this is one of them. I believe that strength training in particular is it's not optional. I don't care what you do otherwise in your life for the most part, but like this is one of those to me just non-negotiables. And I think people can sense that and can feel that when I'm talking to them. And so I want to have conviction when I'm talking to someone and just reinforce the importance of working out. And again, specifically strength training. So if someone's like, yeah, I've got this going on, I'm switching jobs, I'm doing whatever, my first question is always like, okay, well, what are your plans to continue working out, during this 1 month? Even if it's someone that's going to freeze, hey, I just need to take a month off from the gym, which we all know about half the time we'll never see him again. But I'm always like, well, what are you going to do to stay, to keep working out over the next month? Because again, you can, and you'll sense it in my tone when I'm talking to someone like, this is not optional. It's Landon, I don't care that, you're busy and you have a lot going on. Like, you still got to work out, man. Like, it just, people can feel that. And I'm not afraid to tell someone that. So I always want to ask, well, what's your plans to continue working out? Even whether it's a month off, what's your plans to continue working out over this next month? Hey, what's your plans to continue strength training moving forward? Like that's the first place I want to go to because maybe someone has another fitness plan if they're canceling to go someplace else. Maybe that's the case, but in my experience, that's usually not the case. Most people are just, I got busy, I've got a lot going on, and I'll figure it out later. Well, we know that once they get out of the routine, it's probably not happening. And so I want to first and foremost, reinforce the importance of strength training. And so again, what are your plans between now and next month to continue strength training? One of the other things that I can express conviction about is bringing up their goals. And it's Jerry, you told me you wanted to lose 30 pounds by summer. Like, do you realize? I know you got a lot on your plate, man, but do you realize how much taking a month off is going to set you back? Hey, Jerry, you finally gotten to a place to where your back's not bothering you. Aren't you concerned about having to go through that again? I could talk about their habits, and like, aren't you concerned about all these other habits that you've implemented? So I want to remind them of like, hey, when you started here last month, Sally, like you said that, you wanted to do X, Y, and Z. Is that, like what about that? So I don't want to forget their goals. And the better relationship we have someone, hopefully the better we know this stuff and the easier it's going to be to help to like bring it up. And it's like, hey, you said you wanted to do this. Like, I want to help you achieve this goal. And so like I said, I'm going to have conviction. I'm going to bring up their goals and talk about what's important. I also may talk about the importance of the routine. Hey, Jennifer, I remember when you started, you said, it'd been 10 years since you exercised consistently. You're finally in a routine, after all these years. Like you told me how hard it was for you to take that first step through the door. Like, I don't want you to have to go through that again. So I'm going to talk about like the impact on the routines and habits. And we know that exercise is a keystone habit. So I know that if you stop working out or if you take time off from working out, there's a high probability that your nutrition is actually going to get a lot worse too. We know that when you exercise, your sleep is better, your stress is better. So not only are you stopping working out, or not only are you thinking about stopping exercising, but you're also negatively impacting your sleep, your stress, your nutrition, all these other, your mood, your energy, all these other things are a byproduct of working out consistently. And most of those things are probably going to be negatively impacted. And again, like I don't want you to have to restart all those things again. Another just general thing that I just touched on this was just reminding them again of the benefits of exercise. It's not just about strength training. A lot of our clients they'll want to stop because it's like, hey, John, I got a lot on my plate. I'm really stressed. I'm really busy. In my opinion, it's like, okay, this is even more the reason to work out. This is when you like, okay, you've got a lot on your plate. You got two young kids and like everything, and you're juggling all this stuff. Like, okay, well then, in my opinion, like you need this now more than ever before. Like, why would you not want to be at your best and be the most focused and have your highest level of energy than when you're going through one of these like stressful chapters in life? So I'm going to talk about, again, just the general benefits of exercise. Something that some of you guys may be familiar with, some of you guys may not, and I'll send you this link. This is something that like I don't even really understand exactly how this works. It's really fascinating. But there's research that supports, and again, I've got a PubMed article that you can read up on this. But when training, if you've got a client that's going to be out with an injury, they're like, yeah, I need to take time off to rest my leg. There's actually research that supports the contralateral effects of unilateral training. And so I believe it's somewhere in the like 8 to 12% range of strength gained through the unilateral healthy limb. Actually, again, I think it's like 8 to 12% of that strength also carries over to the untrained limb. So if you've got, a bad shoulder, arm, elbow, wrist, whatever, knee, whatever the case may be, by strengthening unilaterally the other side, there's actually like a transfer effect, which is again just fascinating. So you'll actually benefit the injured area by training the opposite limb, which again, most people especially most of our clients would have no idea about this, but you could share with them, this PubMed article that just speaks to, again, you want to recover from this injury. Well, then you need to keep strength training. Other thing I would say is, we want to make sure not to let them off the hook so easily. I think when we get someone on the phone, it's easy for them to say, oh my gosh, I've got all this stuff going on and they're super overwhelmed. And we'll quickly be like, man, I understand you do have a lot on your plate. So yeah, I'll go ahead and cancel your membership. You still may have to cancel their membership. But again, I'm going to go back to that, the benefits of if it's due to an injury, well, the contralateral effects of unilateral strength training, like that's going to benefit you. If it's due to stress, like again, this is when you need it most. If you're struggling with sleep, if you're struggling, what it's pretty much, exercise is, it's like the best drug in the world. And so it literally helps with almost everything. And so again, I'm not going to let people off the hook so easily. Everything I just shared was like 5 different examples of example reasons that you could give them to not cancel. And again, I'm going to, this is something that I'm going to push back on. This is, like I said, this is the hill I'm willing to die on. And, I'm going to tell them like, let me help you figure this out. Like, let's work on this together. Again, I know you got a lot on your plate, but we can do this. I want to help you. I want to see you get through this. Uh, a different one, the last option that you have is also, try to find a compromise, downgrade. It's definitely not ideal. However, something's better than nothing, and at least hopefully we can keep them somewhat in the routine and then upgrade them back moving forward. Again, I'm going to typically touch on I'll use a couple of those examples that I previously shared in a conversation. If they're still just, man, I'm so busy, I've got a lot on my plate, then again, it's like, all right, well, let's talk about downgrading. How about instead of 3 days a week, we go to 2? How about instead of 2 days a week, we go to 1? Anyone that's like, oh, I'm too busy, I personally don't buy it. Like there's no one that's too busy to find 1 hour a week to work out, given our hours. We're open before work, we're open after work. I don't know anyone that's working, 100 plus hours a week. I think everyone can at least squeeze in something. So that, again, those are just different strategies that I will use to help overcome someone from just wanting to cancel and quit cold turkey. So that's the third C of this framework. And then the last one, let's say, unfortunately, it doesn't work. We're not able to keep them as a client. Then the fourth step is just to communicate. And so we've got to communicate. If you're unsuccessful in retaining the client, you got to get clarity on the next steps. And so, when are you going to be reaching out again? If it's someone that's like, all right, we're going to Florida for the winter, we'll be back March 15th, then it's like, okay, I need to know that because that tells me probably the first week of March before they're back, I want to start to get in touch and be like, all right, let's get you back on the calendar. If you're out with an injury, well, for how long? If you've got, a transition going on at home or at work, or there's, this stressful thing that you're going through, how long is that going to take? And I want to communicate that with them and just say like, all right, hey, I'm going to follow up with you the first week of March so we can touch base and just, see where we're at. Even if someone's canceling and they're going to another gym, then I would say like, all right, cool. You know what? What matters to me most is that you stay on track working out. So I'm going to check in with you in a month just to make sure it's going well. You guys probably know just as well as I do, people that come to us, they get the accountability and they're in a routine, and then they're like, all right, cool, I can do this on my own. We all know probably more than half of them don't. They either never do it or they start and they quickly fade because life does get in the way. So when people cancel, that's definitely not a reason to cut off communication. We want to stay in touch with them. I would say create those task reminders for yourself. A presentation that I gave to some gym owners a few years ago, I remember that in 2021, in the year 2021, we actually got back 48 clients that year, that former clients that we reactivated. 48 people is a lot of people, but that's an average of four a month. Every single month, we got four former clients back. And that was just because I was obnoxious with following up. And it was just how your workouts going, and as soon as they told me their workouts weren't going well, which usually didn't take long, I'm like, well, then come back in here and let me help you. If it was an injury, if it was money, whatever the case may be, I was very persistent and always staying in touch. So to make that easier on you guys, I would say make sure create a task reminder. So that way you don't have to worry about, there's too many people coming and going to keep track of everything, especially in gyms that all, have as many people as you guys do. So, use task reminders, use task technology, use Go High Level, because it's a great tool and a great way to stay on track. Again, what I just shared earlier, what matters to me most is that you continue to stick with it and keep progressing towards your goals. I'm going to reach out and this time that sound good. So I want people to know that, when I'm going to reach out and then I'm going to actually follow through. But I want people to know like, hey, you're going to hear from me. So again, I want people to know that just because you've canceled your membership, like I'm not giving up on you. Last final thought, and this is for anyone that struggles with that accountability piece or struggles with like pushing back on people. Something that I heard years ago that just like was like a punch in the gut for me was that, if you're not willing to have an uncomfortable conversation to try to help someone, you're being selfish and you're letting your hesitation or avoidance of an awkward conversation. It's like, man, I don't want to have this weird conversation. You're letting that get in the way of helping someone. When I heard that, it really, like I said, it really hit me because I didn't love having these conversations. I still don't, but I'm willing to do it simply because it's not about me. And last final thought on here is just remember that, holding someone accountable, it's not something you do for someone, or it's something you do for someone, not to them. So, people hired us to hold them accountable. And so like, that's part of our job. And so don't let them off the hook so easy. I truly believe that, if we really care about helping people, then we'll make this a priority and we'll push back. And like I said, we won't let them off the hook. So this to me is this is like the thing that if you're struggling, it's like I like to avoid those conversations. I would just say like, man, you're not helping the other party if you're avoiding the awkward conversations. So that's something that, like I said, it's not easy to do, but the more you do it, in my experience, like people will thank you. They'll thank you for it. And I think it goes a long way. And if we truly care about helping people, like I think this is part of it. Sometimes that means, telling them what they don't want to hear, but what they need to hear. So that is what what I got for you. Real quick, like first question for you guys. Is there anything, was there anything in here that you thought of that maybe you hadn't previously thought of, or like a new strategy or idea to help kind of push back or have these conversations? Annie, I think this was your topic. What do you, I'm gonna put you on the spot. What do you think? Oh, still on mute.
Can you hear me now?
There we go.
All right. Like my computer died, so I just switched over to my phone. Um, so yeah, this is my topic because, we're in the retention phase, right? That's all we're focusing on instead of as much sales, focusing more on retention. So it's always so hard because I know like if I personally am trying to cancel something, if I call someone or go in to cancel something, I don't want anybody to fight me. I know why I'm doing it. I know. So I tend to come from an aspect of like treat others how I would want to be treated. But I also understand this is a totally different industry where, like you said, our job is to hold people accountable. Our job is to keep people with it. The hard part is like, where do you draw the line? So like if somebody comes to me and says like for instance, we had that horrible hurricane that happened in September. I've had several people that had to cancel their memberships because they had huge home repairs that were not covered by insurance, so they no longer had the money to spend toward alloy. I'm not going to fight that. I'm not going to be like, well, you really need to prioritize your health, because that's like, I get it. That's when they're paying 15, $20,000 for, to repair a flooded basement or to remove trees from their yard or whatever. Like those are the types of things that, we can't fight everybody or like, push back on everybody. It's just the ones like, how do you know when it's something worth salvaging or do you, I guess like that's just the biggest thing is like I'm too nice, I guess I should say. Where if somebody's like, hey, I need to cancel, like I had a lady this week reach out to me. She's older, she's in her 60s, and she's been coming and has a great attitude. And she just out of the blue sent me a long text message on how she just feels like alloy's not good for her. Her back's been hurting, even though she didn't get hurt at the gym. She got hurt over the weekend on her own. She feels too old, which is funny because she's literally surrounded by women her same age. But you know, I tried to negotiate with her, not negotiate with her, but tried to encourage her to let's maybe back it down to once a week. Let's see if we can do this because we can dial it back even more than we already have for her so that she feels safe. And she was just like, nope, I'm canceling, you know? So she didn't have anything negative to say. It was just she felt it was too hard for her. So I guess I mean I don't really have a question or anything. It's just like I don't know if everybody else deals with that and how you guys all deal with it. John obviously just showed us how, but like what does everybody else kind of do in those kinds of situations?
Yeah. What do you guys do? Scott, what do you do?
Um, I I wish that we had members that thought they were too old because they're in their 60s. That's probably on the low end of our average. Um, but I think I would probably just pose it to her. Just be like, what's the alternative? If you feel old right now, what are you going to feel like if you just totally stop, or what's your plan moving forward? And chances are she probably doesn't have a plan. I'm assuming most people probably wouldn't. Um, and so I would just try to reassure her that, hey, we can, uh, we're here for you. We can make accommodations, talk to the coaches, the head coach, and make sure that the training is appropriate, and if you need to dial things back on the intensity, then just try to make accommodations. But I think the biggest thing is just reassure her that Alloy is the place for her, and that uh, we can work around anything.
Yeah, I think I really like Scott's comment. If you feel old now, what do what do you think is going to happen? I agree, and it goes back to what I said. Like most people don't have a plan, and so that's where when you get that long text message, and to let me back up a second. I'm with you, Annie. Like if I want to cancel something, I want to cancel something. Like don't. I'm the same way, and I am definitely not a like hardcore, you signed a contract, that's not me at all. If anything, I am the polar opposite. I'm too easy on like I will let people out of agreements or whatever we agreed on. However, where I won't back down though is on everything I mentioned, like with the like not just the relationship, but just like, well, what are you gonna like? I won't back off the fact that you need to work out. I don't know if is anyone familiar with Mike Michalowicz, the author. So I was given a presentation to he's written a lot of books, but I actually in a presentation in front of like 50 people, and I didn't mean for it to come across this way, but it did. I was talking about, and this relates back to my dad's health is really bad, and it's all self-inflicted. And I said in front of a group of 50 people, I was like, I said the way I feel is if you don't work out, like I think you're a piece of shit because I think you are the most selfish human on the world for not working. Like again, that's the hill I'm willing to die on, and like people can feel that. And so, not saying you should tell her she's a piece of shit, but like I do think like there's something that could be done in the sense of just like I love the idea of first, like, trying to get more specific, get her on the phone, well, what is it that you feel like is too difficult? Or what is it, is there something specific within the workout that, is too hard? So I want to try to, that's my first trying to break this down. Like, is there something specific about the workout that's too much? Is it, well, my shoulder's been bothering me? Okay, well, now that I know that, we can make adjustments. Is it you think your heart rate's getting up too high? Is it, you can, so I want to try to first understand like what specifically is too hard. And then, from there, it's, I want to try to explain to her that like we can make adjustments now that I have that information. And if would you be willing to come in, Annie, just for one more workout, and let me make some adjustments, and we can just see how you've already paid for your membership through the end of the month. So let me see if we can make some adjustments, and and I think that you would be pleasantly surprised that that again we can help you. And so
So
that.
those are conversations that I had with her. Like I went through everything because I've had situations before where somebody wanted to cancel and I dove into like, let's find out why. And it was as simple as this woman was overweight and she had a hard time getting up and down off of the floor for the warm-ups. And I was like, hey, we could fix that.
Yep.
So I assured her that we could. So similar to that, where I was just, asking her like what, because I've worked with her specifically. Like she's been in my sessions before and she doesn't struggle. She is at baseline. No, she doesn't do what's up on the screen. She has basically her own workouts that are challenging for her, but still doable. We have her whole medical history stuff written down. So it was just one of those really confusing things. So after offering her that, then asking her if she'd be willing to, let's try once, at least for the next month, we'll set your cancellation, but why don't you come in once a week? You can always reverse your cancellation if you need to. And she was like, no, I think I'm done. I want to be taken off the schedule. And, get to that point, you're like, well, I tried,
Yeah.
So
And if
it
it,
sounds to me like there's more behind it
yeah.
that, but it's like, I didn't want to be a jerk and just keep pushing it for her because it's like, if somebody's wanting to be done with something, they're done.
Yeah.
So
And that's where I mentioned when I mentioned like, um, I will I said, I'm probably too nice as far as letting people off the hook. And so in that instance, I would still, then I think it's more important. It's like if you've made up your mind, you've made up your mind. I understand that. But I also know that like the grass isn't always greener on the other side. So to me, that's where the follow up and that's where that conversation, look, Annie, all right, I heard you, not interested in modifications. I got you. Uh, that's when I then go into what matters to me most is that you find a program that works for you and that keeps you progressing towards your goals. Because ultimately, that's all I care about, whether it's at Alloy or somewhere else. Like, we both know, like, you have to work out till the day you die. Like, you have to stay with it. So, as long as you do that, like, I'm cool, and like I said, I'm going to support you no matter what. And then that's where, again, knowing a month later when you follow up, how are your workouts going? You probably already know the answer. So, and that's where I think if you end on that, if you end with that conversation, like, all I care about is that you continue, you know, sticking with it. In my experience, like if you do that well, you can get like a client back, at least an extra client back every month, which again, it might not save you, it might not save that client, but if you're reactivating an extra client every single month, like, man, does that add up too? So maybe that's where they're in that situation, like that's where the focus would need to be is just on like, that conversation with her continuing moving forward. And then, we've had a lot of clients that go try something else and then next thing you know, they're back. And it's like, oh yeah, we had a client at Blue Ocean, Jeff K, I forget his last name, that just rejoined. And I ran into him a couple weeks ago and he's like, yeah, I was really annoyed. I traded every other place in town that was cheaper and like I hated them all. So I had to come back. And he's like, I tried Orange Theory, I tried F45, I tried all, and he's like, I couldn't. But and he tried all these cheaper options, and then he came back. So that's always, like I said, that's always I'm always thinking about that too, because definitely you can't save everyone. You're not going to be able to, but I do think there's also people throughout the year. If you look at our growth numbers over time, if having these conversations saves one person a month and then you're also able to get one person back a month, like that compounds, that's an extra 24 clients over 12 months. And so again, definitely not going to save them all, but I do think every little bit helps and it compounds anything we can do. So Landon, you got any thoughts or ideas?
Yeah, I mean, I err on the side of you as well, maybe to my detriment, as far as a little too understanding, probably from time to time, a little too, not wanting to get even remotely in an argumentative tone, but definitely, a lot of people, it's sort of like it sounds like it's a non-answer answer, but there's a lot of read the room aspect of like that lady. Yeah, no matter what you're going to say, she ain't coming back, or you're not going to save her right now. But what you can do is end on a really, really good note. And like you said, chances are she'll be back. We're very similar to you at Blakeney, at least. Colony's a little bit of a different beast entirely, but you know, I, this month we have 5 former members, and I've got a reassessment actually at 5:30 with another former member. People that had canceled for one reason or another, whether it be work was busy at the time, and those check-ins. We keep a list of, and I'm sure all of these successful managers do. We keep a list of adds and subtracts and why they terminated, and I go back, 4 months every month and reach out to all the people that didn't move. Hey, just wanted to check in. How are you doing? How are the workouts going? Has work slowed down or whatever that might be? I know the reason that they canceled. I wrote it down. So then, not always those people, but those text messages a lot of times come in handy. And like you said, when your goals like at a Blakeney, I mean, we talked, when you need to sell 16 to 20 memberships just to grow a little bit a month, getting 4 or 5 returning members is golden.
Yep, that's a huge cuts into that number a lot.
Yeah,
definitely.
it's all about that leaving them with a good taste in their mouth, knowing that they left the conversation, knowing that you still have their best interest in mind and you still care about them. They're much more likely to come back in once they figure out that everywhere else does suck. It's not cheaper. Cheaper is not better, or $130 an hour for one-on-one personal training isn't better. And they'll find that out. They'll know. They'll get there.
Yeah. No, I think, like I said, with Landon and Annie, what both of you said, I'm definitely, not, I am not suggesting, be a jerk or like hold it like, no, you're not canceling. It's like I get it. Like I said, I'm probably too nice about that myself. However, I do, and it's coming from a place of caring. I do want people to understand, like I am going to hold them accountable though. And it's like, do you understand? Like, let's not forget, Whitney, I get it, you're busy, but let's not forget about your goals. We just talked about 3 months ago. And like you told me how important it was to get ready for X, Y, and Z in June. Like, what about that? Is that, because again, having this conversation, you're not always going to get people to stay. And I would argue probably most of the time you're not. But if one out of every 10 people you can get to stay, like think about like that's 12 more people a year that if you have 10 a month, that's 12 more people a year that you're making an impact in their life. And like that's truly, yes, I want the gyms to grow, but like it is about much more than that. It is about helping people. And I think that's why we all got into this industry. And like I said, and sometimes that means pushing back. I do think most of us probably could push back a little more than we do. Again, you don't have to be mean or rude, but it's like let's not just like completely let him off the hook with the text message. Like, and I've seen it, before where someone's and it's like, okay, we'll take care of it for you. Like, text. I'm like, no, that's not. We need to push back more than that. I definitely think it's worth the conversation to see, well, what are your plans? Is there anything you can do? Or is there anything we can do? Um, Something, and I didn't mention this, but one other thing that you can do, and if are you guys all familiar with the principle of reciprocity?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yes. Yep. So basically, the idea is if I do something nice for you, you feel obligated to do something nice for me. That's just how humans are wired. Not everyone's going to feel that way, but the principle of reciprocity is very real. And so another strategy that I've used over the years is if someone's canceling. So Whitney says she's canceling. She's going to go to the YMCA with her husband to work out and because he wants her to work out with her, so no hard feelings, but I'm going to go do it on my own. I will actually write up workouts for someone, give them to them, and it's like, well, listen, Whitney, what I care about again is that you're working out. If I put together some workouts for you to do, would that help you out? I promise you would be the only gym in town that gives people something as they're canceling. Like I think what talk about to Landon's comment, like not leaving a bad taste in someone's mouth. Like can't get much better than that. It's like, holy crap, I told this guy I'm canceling my membership and how he responds is writing me workouts to do. Like that, talk about sending a message that like someone that really cares about me that's something that you can do that I also think will contribute to a greater probability of them coming back as well because of that principle of reciprocity. It's like, man, here's the one guy that has shown that even when I'm not paying him, he's still trying to help me. So I do think that really, that's something that I didn't mention earlier that as far as getting like reactivations from former clients, I think that's something that can go a long way. And the cool part is once you write up a few of those workouts, it's just copy and paste. They don't know. Like that's what we do. It just literally copy and paste and send them over. And but again, I am very confident no other gym has done that for our clients. So Whitney, what are your thoughts?
There we go. I also let people off the hook very easily. I like the communication part of just like here are the next steps because I don't do that very well. I do like tasks and say like follow up, that kind of thing, but I like that continual follow up of, you know, I want you to be successful. Um, and then actually asking them that, a few weeks or months later. So I think that was my favorite part. And I also like the framework because it makes a lot of sense. Because like all the examples you've given, I've heard them too. I mean, we are all hearing the same thing. So it's nice to know that there's a way to approach it that makes sense, and you can kind of make sure that you're checking those boxes so that you're doing your best. Because, like I said, I'm very easy to cancel and I do not do a very good job of it. And I want to go back and follow up with those people and see if I can pull some people back in. So I appreciate all that. It's awesome.
Cool, awesome. Like I said,
Something we do too, John, if you don't mind. I don't know if all of y'all do newsletters. I'm sure most of you do. I keep all former members on our newsletter email list. So they at least hear all the cool things happening every single month, all the shout outs, all the stuff every single month forever via email. So at least they get that. And, that sparks their interest. Maybe you're like, you know what, that really was really great. Or, wow, that looks like fun. I miss being there. I'm going to text Landon back or something like that too.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, we definitely do that. But we'll invite our former clients to our anniversary party. Like, why not? It like, maybe you guys are doing some sort of like stretching seminar or workshop or anything. Like, why not invite them? Again, it's that principle of reciprocity. Man, these guys are still inviting me to stuff, trying to treat me like, I think of a story. I had a woman years ago that emailed me. She responded to one of my newsletter emails, and in her message, it was something to the extent of like, um, you know, would you even take me back? And and in my head, I was like, holy crap, like what? Like, yeah, why? But she thought that like I was mad at her for canceling. And so again, some people just assume, Wes, we had a conversation about this yesterday. Some people assume the worst with every scenario. And it's like, no, not at all. Like, honestly, you were busy. Like, again, I didn't think anything of it. But that kind of speaks to Landon's point where, yeah, keep them on your newsletter list. Keep them on, invite them to stuff. Because there may be someone out there that would love to come back, but they might think you're mad at them. They might think like they don't want me back because I quit. Because again, sometimes some people just assume the worst, and it could have ended perfectly fine, but in their head, it's like, oh my gosh, they must hate me for quitting on them. And it's like, so again, just even more the reason to stay in touch. Whitney, you can create a task reminder, or remember in ops, I love this feature. You can schedule text. If you out, did you know that? All right, well, you learned two things new today. There you go. You can schedule text in Go High Level. It's right on the conversation screen. It's pretty. There's I think it's just like a clock on there, isn't it? Is that right, Wes? Or do one of you guys
It
know?
is. It
Yes,
is.
it
Yeah.
is. You have to start typing something first before that part will
Okay,
show
yeah.
you.
So yeah, that's what I thought about. You type your message, and on the right where there's like the blue send button, like
Yeah.
next right there. But you
Oh
could,
yeah, I've scheduled big ones like for everybody, but I've not done singles, so that's great news.
yeah.
Thank you.
So
I
again,
just
if it
learned two
was
things today. Thank
Yeah,
you.
that's just there you go. Your day's done. Yeah, that's something that can, like I said, if you want to reach out to someone on a specific time or date, we'll just schedule a one-off text. I'll do that a lot of times. I would do that a lot of times with people traveling. And it's like, well, I know they're coming back on this date. I want to reach out a week in advance to get them on the calendar. So and it's obviously not a bulk message because I'm not going to send to everyone like, hey, how are things in Florida? We need to get you on the schedule for, like those things need to be one off. And so you could, yeah, if you don't want to create a task reminder, just schedule a text. And those come in super handy. Cool. Any other thoughts or ideas on this subject or suggestions, like things that work really well for you guys? Like Landon mentioned the email newsletter. We do the same thing. Is there anything else you guys have that you find really helpful or valuable?
I just think kind of something that I think we all do, but we just did last week here in the St. Louis area where we um, try to reactivate former members. Just taking that time to like remember stuff. Maybe you have to do that in a task or you make notes. Just remember things that they have going on. So when you try to reach back out to them just to check in on them and see how their workouts are doing, I think that's just important because it just builds that, connection with them and you have something that you can always go back to bring up. But we try to do that once a quarter where we, you know, go through our list of potential canceled people. And I think just last week, I mean, I had a few people that still aren't ready to come back, but I actually sent them out some workouts and they were super appreciative. And like John said, I mean, we have a copy paste thing where it took me 2 minutes to do, but they were super, happy to at least talk to me and they might not be ready to come back yet, but I might get them back, in a few months or so.
Yeah, no, that's yeah, that's good stuff, Wes. Cool.
I also like to leverage the relationships with the coaches. So I will, for from in our club, I'm very much so like just area director. I coach very rarely. So I like to leverage the fact that as all y'all know, the members really are obsessed with and loyal to the coaches more so than anything else. A lot of times, they love their person. So I'll text them as their normal coach as well. Like, hey, Landon told me you needed to cancel, what happened, man, or what's going on, or something like that, or use that as part of the reactivation. As I go to text them 2 months later, hey, it's Landon, 9 a.m. just ain't the same without you. How's the work travel going? Or when do you get back from the work travel? Or, let's get you back in, or something like that, and leverage that little bit more intimate, closer relationship than I would have with people, especially, if it's people that I never really see, 6 a.m.ers, 7 p.m.ers, times of the day that I'm rarely ever in there, they're going to be much closer to their coach than they will me. It's going to feel a lot more personalized and unique coming from the coach than it will be from the principal of the school.
Yeah, no one wants to talk to the principal. So cool. All right. No, I think those are all great reminders, little nuggets. Yeah, if you don't have a great relationship with them, well, who does? Send it on their behalf. And what Wes mentioned is something that I think is, when you're having that conversation, what are your plans moving forward? Yeah, make sure you write that down. That way, it's like, hey, how's it going at Orange Theory, or how's it going at the YMCA, or how's it going at wherever they're at? It just, yeah, the more specifics how are things in Florida, like wherever they're at. Yeah, the more specifics and it also just shows that you care about the relationship. And it's like, wow, they were actually listening, because in today's world, nobody listens to like no one listens anymore. It feels like at times. So I think that's also super important. Uh, any other thoughts or ideas?
Not necessarily me, but something that our Utah clubs have used in the past is leveraging the in body. So people that like go to other places or are going to try something else, texting them, hey, I don't know if the place you're working out right now has an in body or you're working out at home. Come back in and get another body scan and see where the progression is. And let's talk about, some modifications you might need to make for your home gym to make sure you're getting that muscle gain you're looking for. It brings them in, they do the in body, they see that results are worse. And you're like, hey, this is where you were when you left. You tried to do it on your own, or you went to this place. This is where you are now. I think maybe you should try starting back here, kind of thing. And they've used that very well out there in Utah for sure.
What Landon failed to mention was he actually recalibrates the in-body right before they come in to make it way worse. It
Heavyweights,
actually goes up 10 pounds.
dodgeball style. I add 10 pounds to the scales
Right.
before they come in.
Brilliant.
It's a very effective strategy. I like that. So awesome. Well, hey, I don't want to keep you guys. Hopefully, I know Whitney got two things out of that. Can't speak for anyone else. Hopefully you guys found that valuable, or got like at least maybe a new idea or two out of it. But I will email you all everyone's contact information. Two things I'm going to ask or suggest. One, I'd love to keep, if you guys find this valuable, I'll keep doing it. So I'm going to ask, like, what are two topics or two things you'd like to discuss in the future? And I'll just kind of see what your guys' feedback would be. The other suggestion I would make would be to reach out to someone else on here. Like, I talked to Trey and David both probably every week, and we're talking all the time, individually and small groups, and it's super valuable to always just get like someone else's feedback or viewpoint on, because we all have blind spots. And so my suggestion would be, reach out to someone else. Landon, I didn't introduce you, but Kelly, who's on this call, is who manages our Blue Ocean Fitness Gym. So I told her you'd be a great person to connect with because you guys are in a very similar boat. And that's not, like I said, it's a little bit of a different beast, but you guys are doing a lot of the same stuff. So, but yeah,
Perfect.
reach out. Like I said, let me know what's one or two topics you guys would like help with, and then just connect with someone else. I'll send all you guys' contact information in the email, but yeah, just reach out over the next month. And the whole point is to just connect, hopefully just to kind of connect with other people. And it's one of my favorite quotes is, as the water rises, so do all the ships. So if you're getting better and other people around you are getting better, like, everyone wins. Cool. That's all I got.